Welcome, you guys, back to the Illuminerdi, and today we have a very special guest, the talented and legendary Power Ranger actor, Mr. Campbell Cooley. Campbell, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think we've contacted each other through Twitter, and I guess you've seen the YouTube channel before, and
Definitely.
much appreciated everything that you said. I know not a lot of people part of the Power Ranger franchise know us directly and appreciate the type of things that we love talking about. We love talking about Power Rangers. It's a series that's
Mm,
been going on for 30 years now, and some of us are it kind of ages us a little bit, but it's such a great show, and um, what you have lent to the franchise is amazing. And to be honest, like looking at your filmography and looking at how long you've been with the franchise, you're like one of the legendary pillars in the Power Ranger franchise. How does it feel to be part of something this big?
oh my gosh. I do not think the word legendary should be used in a sentence with my name in it. Uh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. It's, it still hasn't hit me. Even though I've been doing voice work for the show since 2005, the reality of what I'm involved with, it just still hasn't kind of sunk in. And, maybe in the course of time, once I start doing conventions and other things, it'll become more of a reality. But for now, it's this big, amazing thing that I'm kind of trying to grasp and and figure out and understand. And of course, the best way is really to just kind of interact with other Power Rangers fans and get a sense of how magnificent it is. And so, I'm totally indebted to you and so many other content creators because you've really helped me along the way to appreciate what I'm involved with.
Yeah, definitely. You're welcome. Now, tell me about young Campbell. I know. You've done a lot of voice work. You've done a lot of theater. Were there signs that this is what you wanted to do early on in your career?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, no. I was a very distracted child. I didn't really, I don't really know how to describe it. I was one of these kids who was just interested in everything, and I was constantly like, being like, this week I'm interested in this and study, 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 and then it's like, okay, I'm bored with that. I'm going to move on to something else, and it was just I was never able to kind of settle into what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even in my early adult life, I was still kind of like, what am I doing? So it really is, and I've done a little bit of everything. And the the fact that I've now kind of become part of this, universe and be a voice actor for something so incredible, I just I can't even process it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just fell into it totally by accident.
Definitely.
So
Definitely. That's amazing. I know a lot of actors growing up. They described it like you did, where you're kind of like trying different things, and I think that's something that a lot of us at a young age like to do. Try to figure out where we're going. Now, one of the
yeah.
projects I've been super excited to talk to you about, only because I grew up with it and I loved watching it as a kid, was your time on Hercules and Xena. Can you tell me how you got involved into that universe and how your experience was with that show, with those shows?
Sure. Sure. Um, so for the maybe the three people out there that don't know this, uh, when when I was 30, I moved to New Zealand. I just kind of reinvented myself and started my life over and everything. And I found that it was very hard to kind of break into the acting scene, or more specifically, the theater scene, because it's such a small community. When compared to, like, say, the United States, where there's just so much theater, and then suddenly you're in this kind of smaller, this microcosm. And so I was struggling to find work, and so the logical thing was just get a film agent and kind of try and branch out. And no sooner had I signed on for this film agent, boom, I was just getting auditions, and many of those auditions were for Xena and Hercules. And I think initially, if memory serves, I wasn't getting anything, and I was a little frustrated. And what I found out later from the casting director was she was actually holding me back because she wanted me to be getting bigger parts. She thought it'd be better for me to like be doing kind of make more of a nice juicy guest role as opposed to maybe like walk on and one or two lines or something. So um, I so I did auditions for a few months, and then suddenly, boom! I got cast in my first episode of Xena, and it wasn't a big part, but it was fun. And then like a few weeks later, boom! I got cast again, another villain. I thought, oh, okay. So then a few weeks later, boom! I got cast again, and I got really spoiled actually, and it was it was an amazing experience. It was, I mean, obviously it was my first time doing film and TV, so I was very, very nervous. But eventually I kind of relaxed and settled into it. And I think the probably the most stressful day for me was there was uh, an episode that I was in where one day of filming was literally just me, Lucy Lawless, and Renee O'Connor, and it was just the three of us. And of course, I was just like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was really nervous. And the guy who was playing my brother in the episode, he says that, dude, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. You're gonna be, and it was perfectly fine. So yeah, it was fun. It was kind of like a playground for big kids.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
And
yeah.
just being
So
in New Zealand and seeing all the beautiful landscape and the things that you can only imagine in movies and stuff. That must have been an experience, and you get to see it every day. So it's like probably nothing to
right.
you, you know. But yeah, that's really
Well,
cool.
no, I still think it's pretty amazing. I
Yeah.
still think it's pretty amazing. And my first day on the set, we were on location, and it was like this giant castle set, and it was just like, whoa, that is so cool.
That's awesome. Now you have backgrounds on stage, as you said, in TV and voice acting. Which of
Mhm.
these do you hold to a higher regard, and is it easy transitioning from one to another?
Right. Um, I don't necessarily hold one in any kind of higher regard than the other. They're all kind of their own thing, and each requires its own skill set. Um, certainly there's crossover, and there's some people that feel like they could never have transitioned into film without having done theater, or transitioned into voice work without having done this or whatever. And I, I kind of hold them all in equal regard. They're each requires a kind of different skill set.
Hmm.
And but I will say that with regards to um, my voice work, I don't think I would have been able to do the voice work I'm doing today had I not had that foundation in the theater and then subsequently in film acting, because um, I got to learn how to use my body and craft performances. It's amazing how much we actually depend on our bodies in order to act.
Yeah.
So when I got into uh, Power Rangers, I found out very quickly, I really needed to be able to move around and do all kinds of crazy stuff in order to get the performance out. I mean, if others can do it without moving their bodies, that's great. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, I've kind of jokingly said, if somebody had handcuffed me during Ninja Steel, there is no way I could have recorded Cosmo Royale,
Yeah.
because whatever you see him doing on the stage, that's probably what I was doing in the booth.
That's amazing. Like you said, you mentioned that acting, uh, being being a trained actor is a huge part of voice acting. For future aspiring voice actors, is there any tips that you have for them that you wish you knew getting into it?
Mm. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of things. But I would say the biggest thing is don't hold back. The people who go on to be successful aren't afraid to make a mistake or look silly in the recording booth.
Yeah.
When I started out, I was just doing like little kind of guest roles, and then I got by chance I ended up being invited to join the Loop Group, which is like a group of people that do all the background sounds. And I remember my first few weeks there, and there was this one guy I always watched. His name was Jeremy. And the thing I learned from Jeremy is don't hold back. When they call you up to the mic, give 150%. And if you make a mistake, so what? They can hit delete. So the people who that I saw kind of holding back, you know, they didn't do as well. Maybe they didn't get invited back. But the ones who were just like pushing and pushing and just striving to give as much as they could, we got asked back all the time. And so I would say, don't be afraid to just give it your all and commit to whatever it is you're asked to do. If it's a monster voice or if it's some kind of over the top character, just push it 150, 200%. They would rather you give too much than not enough. They can always say, okay, that's great, pull it back about 50% or something. But there's nothing worse than trying to pull a performance out of somebody who's afraid and doesn't want to give anymore. That's death. That takes, it takes way too much time.
That's very useful information. I think that a
Yeah.
lot of young voice actors will appreciate, telling them
Sure.
that. Now, we have a huge Power Ranger fan base, so I can't go through this interview without asking you about Power Rangers. How did you first get involved with the Power Ranger franchise, and when you got involved with it, did you know that it was as big as it was?
Right. Oh gosh. Oh dear. So yet again, I'm showing my age. When Power Rangers came out, I was 27 years old.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a show that I would have watched. And what little I had seen on the TV, like if I was going through channels or if I had the TV going for noise while I was vacuuming, it was just like, this show is not for me. And and then fast forward a number of years later, and um, I knew that there was the Power Rangers was filming in New Zealand, and I was trying to get voice work for it, and it wasn't happening for whatever reason. I think at the time part of the reason was that I didn't have a voice agent. I was having trouble finding a voice agent,
Mhm.
and by a complete fluke, um, the um, the ADR director, who was also kind of like the casting director, he decided to cast a wider net. So instead of just contacting, say, a voice agency, he contacted my acting agency at the time, and he said, "Do you have any Americans on your books?" And she said, "Yeah, we got this guy." And so I got to audition for SPD, and I was so nervous because I knew that like these auditions were hen's teeth. It was really hard to get these auditions,
Yeah.
and I went in there and I did what I thought was right, and I got it. And I think later down the road, I was told by the ADR director that it was extremely rare for them to cast somebody based on their first audition. Normally, what they would do is they bring somebody in, they'd audition, and they say, you know what, they're really good, but they're not right for this part, but we'll keep bringing them back. And I was just, I guess, one of those few people that got cast on their first go. So as a result, they kept bringing me back every season, and it was little small parts. When I say small parts, I mean like one episode, and they just kept bringing me back and bringing me back and bringing me back, and then I got lucky and I got to voice a non-villain character, which I'm sure you'll bring up later, and and then in the course of time, I got an ongoing character, which was Admiral Malcor. And then I thought, okay, well, I've done my due. That's going to be it. And then the following season, boom, I got another ongoing character. And then the next season, boom, another ongoing character. And I was just like, okay, my luck's going to run out eventually here. So, um, and I think it wasn't until maybe Ninja Steel I started to realize, man, I'm a part of something kind of big here. I don't really understand it. To me, it's just work. I'm just going in and I'm just, I'm trying to pay my rent, but I started to realize there's something more to this. And even then, I don't think it was until like maybe Beast Morphers where the reality kind of started to really hit me.
Yeah.
More on that later.
Um, like you said, one of my favorite characters that you played was Alpha Six. My first introduction into, or reintroduction to the Power Ranger community was cosplaying as Alpha 5. at Paramorphicon. So alphas hold a real special place in my heart. So just speaking to you, being Alpha 6, it's amazing. I mean, how was that experience doing that, especially on such a pivotal episode like Once a Ranger, where you get to see past Rangers come back, Johnny Young Bosch, for example. How was that? How was that experience for you?
Okay, now that you've asked the question, so a few things have kind of come to mind. I'm like, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So at this point in the game, I was still not aware just how big and important Power Rangers was.
Yeah.
Me, it was just like it was a job. So in a way, it's probably good that I didn't know because it probably would have intimidated me.
Hmm.
So what happened was uh, because the show's in New Zealand, they couldn't get certain voice actors who'd done like the voice originally. So my voice agent contacted me and she said, "Look, they're looking for this a sound alike. Can you do the following?" And they sent me a sample to listen to, and I thought, oh yeah, I think I could do like a fair approximation. It's not going to be perfect, but it's it'll be good enough. And did that. Had no idea again what I was involved with. It wasn't until kind of like years later, people were like, going, "Oh, you played Alpha." I'm like, yeah. What about it? Yeah. Had no idea how important Alpha was. And gonna let you in on something which this might be interesting. It might come back to bite me. I don't know. But
There we go.
here we go. So this current season, we've had a few clips
Yeah.
from past series that we've had to kind of get we had to revoice certain characters on, and this is the first. You're the first one hearing this.
Ooh, thank you.
First one. Um, and I don't even know how this happened, but I guess maybe it was because it was based on what I had done with Alpha 6. I more or less got drafted to revoice Alpha 5.
Yes, that's amazing.
But even more, I also voiced Zordon.
What the?
So it was the same scene. I basically, it was like I'm trying to remember what the heck it was. I think it's like you watch the episode, you know what it is. But it's I think one is Alpha is talking to Zordon about how Zed has turned the Rangers into children.
Yeah.
And then later, I think it was Zordon telling Andros, "You have to destroy my energy tube in order to save everything." Now, just for what it's worth, and I don't know what happened. What I recorded in the booth, I thought was pretty good.
Uh-huh.
When I heard it back, it sounds like they added a filter to it. I'm not sure why. I don't think it was necessary, but I'm just letting you know that is not what I recorded in the booth.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been able to do both, and yeah.
That was an interesting situation in that episode. I know a lot of fans have pointed out the inconsistencies with Zed voice and stuff like that, but a lot of them didn't understand the whole the behind the scenes on re-uploading or re-airing audio like that, how it's recorded differently. Do you have any input as far as like how that all went down?
I really don't.
Yeah.
I wish I did. They just call me and they say, "We need you to come in and do this thing," and I'm like, "Ooh, money, yeah, okay, sure." And I go in and I do it. But yeah, I kind of wish I had a better understanding of the inner workings.
Yeah.
But alas, I
Well,
don't.
thank you for bringing Zordon and Alpha back. That's amazing.
For those who liked it, thank you. For those who didn't like it, I didn't have a say in the matter.
Now, I mean, you've played many characters within the franchise. Which one was the hardest to bring to life?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say probably Scrozzle.
Okay.
And the reason being is that with like the one-off characters like they come and go for an episode. You don't really need to know a lot about them. They're being hired by the main baddie to destroy the Rangers. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
once I kind of got into the ongoing characters, I had a little bit of backstory on who they were and what their motivations were and that sort of thing. Scrozzle, blank slate. I went into doing Scrozzle completely blind. I had no idea who he was. I was given no backstory. I was just like I had no idea where the character was going. For all I knew, he was going to be around maybe 5 episodes and be destroyed. And then he just kept going and going and going and going. And then by the end it's like, oh, he's the only survivor. So it was I think it was probably Scrozzle because I I had I had no backstory. I was like, what's motivating him? And obviously he's just trying to survive and he's on the run from Vargoyle. But I mean, I really needed to know more information. What's driving this guy?
Yeah.
So that was a little frustrating. But in a way, I'm kind of glad now that we don't have any backstory on him because I think it makes him more interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
And who knows? Maybe they'll bring him back in a comic or something, and we'll get more of a
I don't know.
backstory.
I don't know. I mean, he did get away, or not get away, but he did survive the ending of Beast Morpher. So who knows if he's gonna show up again? Something I find most interesting, with voice actors is that some of them play multiple roles, sometimes on the same episode, same interaction, like Seth MacFarlane in Family Guy. Have you ever come across something? Have you ever done something like that? And if so, was it hard going back and forth?
I'm sure there are some shows um, that certain actors they can just bounce back and forth between characters,
Yeah.
and that's great. Depending on the character, I could probably do it myself. But the only time where um, that was not the case, well, the only time I had to had a conversation with myself was in the Beast Morphers crossover episode,
Hmm.
and there were several scenes where Snide and Scrozzle were talking to each other. And I can just tell you right now, there is no way I could have done those two voices in the same recording session.
Yeah.
Just way too hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the closest I came to doing that was when we did the read through. So we get together every 2 or 3 weeks. We read the next lot of scripts before it goes into production. And I did actually try to do the voices of Scrozzle and Snide when we were reading it, and that just oh wow, that just knocked the wind out of me.
Yeah.
so, so, no, I definitely recorded Scrozzle and Snide in separate sessions,
Yeah. That's.
but
I can imagine it being very very hard, very difficult. Now one of the
well,
things that
and
yeah. Now one
I
of the
was gonna
things.
say they're two very very hard voices for me to pull off. So
Yeah.
even just doing it itself is tough enough.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I really appreciate about you, like I said before, is how involved you are with the fandom. Are there some things that you love about doing that, and some things that you're not so fond of?
I can't think of I don't think I've had a single bad experience interacting with the fans. They're all lovely. They're amazing. They're very giving, um, very talented. I mean, some of the fan art and things I've seen just mind blowing. Um, and if anything, I sometimes feel guilty. I feel like I want to give back more, and it's just my time is limited. So I try to find the time when I can, and either maybe put out a video on YouTube or say thanks on social media. Just for what it's worth, I do my own social media.
Hmm.
I don't have anybody else do it for me. So um, if you're communicating with somebody on Twitter or where, that's me. It's absolutely me. It'll
Yeah,
always be me.
yeah. I've come across situations where a lot of people have like a social media manager and they'll speak on behalf of them. But we really do appreciate you, staying involved with the community and giving some feedback as far as like how things are going. It really means a lot. It really means a lot. Um,
Thank you.
what are is there any like super memorable moments that you've had with the fandom that just kind of either touch your heart or you'll remember forever, or like it makes it seem like what, I'm part of this family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so many to mention, and I'll just probably mention two. Um, One was when I got cast as Slither, which was in October of 2020.
Hmm.
And then I had to wait like 6 or 7 months before I began recording. And then in the meantime, seeing on social media, people started predicting who I was going to play,
Oh
as if
yeah.
they somehow knew I was going to be on the series. And I was just like, whoa. And like 80 to 90% of them were right.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I was like, how are you guessing this? It's like they're tapping the morphing grid or something.
Big fans
So
of Ryu Soldier. They're like, oh, he could play that guy. Definitely could play that guy. That'd be a
yeah.
pivotal character. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching Ryu Soldier, and you just bring that character to life and just give him. Even when that one episode where you were in human form, I was like, this is great. This is perfect. Where that was probably one of my favorite episodes of yours in the series. So that
thank you.
was amazing.
I think the other thing that it comes to mind, and this is by no means the only thing. There's so many just amazing things that people have said and done, but I think one of the ones that I really treasure, and it might sound a bit silly. Somebody, it was on social media. They made a comment to the effect of like, they had listened to all of my voice work on Power Rangers,
Hmm.
and she said the first time I heard your actual voice in an interview, that was not what I expected. So like, I'll take that as a compliment. I'll thank you.
Yeah. Is it? Is there anybody that you drew inspiration from for some of these characters, like maybe some old comedians or old characters
Yeah,
that you've seen?
right. I'm very much I'm a big fan of the old school of voice acting. Ed Wynn, Paul Frees,
Yeah.
Mel Blanc. I love all those guys. Um, by a complete, I would say I was somewhat influenced by I think Ed Wynn for Cosmo.
Hmm.
That's a much longer story, but I know that Ed Wynn did somewhat influence um, Cosmo in that. Um, I've shared the story before, but when I was asked to audition for it, they wanted me to kind of emulate Charlie in the Box from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Okay.
and they were very happy with that. But to me, he just sounded a little too depressed, so I added a bit of Ed Wynn's Mad Hatter to him,
Okay.
and boom, that's how Cosmo came to being. So, um, big fan of the old school.
Yeah. Now we've had some news come out recently that Netflix will be the new home for season two, and Netflix would also be the new home for movies and a new universe and TV, different programmings for adults and children. Um, what are you personally excited to see with this new direction?
Hmm. I mean, it just could go in so many different directions. I don't even know where to begin. You know, I I would love that. This is just my dream. I don't think this is ever going to happen.
You
But
never know.
I mean, I would love to see a Power Rangers franchise where it's like something out of Pacific Rim, where just like it's that it doesn't look like people in a monster suit on a set. It looks like
Big kaiju's
uh,
and yeah, you know.
yeah.
Uh,
I would love that. I would love that so much. Um, as for whether I get to be a part of that on some level, I have no expectations. If
yeah.
they ask me to, great. If not, I got nothing to complain about. I'm
Hmm.
so thrilled with what I've been able to contribute to the franchise thus far.
And
So,
the franchise appreciates everything you've done. Now, is there any other long running franchises or voices that you've liked to lend your voice for? Maybe if they were to do a Looney Tunes revival or something, is there any like character that you want to bring back to life, or maybe bring a new character to life?
um, God, I would love. I was not expecting that question, and
I'm
now that
so
you've
sorry.
asked, it's like something has popped into my head, and
Yeah.
uh, so do you know? Oh gosh, I don't even think he has a name. Like if they revised Looney Tunes,
Uh huh. Uh huh.
uh, Sylvester the cat has a little son,
Oh. Oh.
and yeah, does he have a name?
I can't remember, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Well,
vaguely
in
remember.
any case, I would love to do the son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the big mouse? You know.
Yeah.
That was not my audition. Trust me, I can do much better. But I'd love to do him. I mean, I'd just be happy to do anything. You know, just send me the work.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's just so much amazing animation out there. I just wouldn't even know where to begin to what to choose from.
And this you don't necessarily have to ask this one, but I gotta ask. In your personal opinion, or not in your personal opinion, but without spoiling anything, how would you describe the next season in a few words or less?
Amazing.
Amazing. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Sir, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate, everything you do and everything you've given to the fandom, especially all these voices that you brought to life. I don't know if people realize, like, without, the work that, you and other voice actors do, it wouldn't be the same. Like, honestly, it would not be the same. You just have the Power Rangers fighting, speakless monsters like they had in 2017 with Goldar, where he wasn't talking. But so it's a true honor and a privilege to speak with you on a franchise that I grew up loving, and I really appreciate your time, sir.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. It's such a privilege and it's a thrill to be able to chat with the fandom and be a part of such an incredible franchise. I mean, and remember what I said earlier. I still don't fully understand what I'm involved with, so just be patient with me.
Well, have you been to Power Morphicon yet?
I was invited to the last two, and they had to get canceled.
Okay, okay.
But it's my understanding that I probably will be at the one this year,
Yeah.
assuming all goes to
And
plan.
with
So
this whole thing that's going on, I think it's honestly 2014 was my first one, and I was just amazed at how many fans there were still, and like the dedication to some of these costumes and some of these things. So I think that it'll be a eye opener for you, and I think that the fandom will get to see you in person. They're gonna welcome you with open arms, and I think that's actually an experience I'm kind of jealous that you're gonna get to experience soon. It's gonna be great.
well, I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate your time, sir, and hope to have you back on the show again. I know maybe if you're in the LA area too, maybe we'll have you at the studio. Maybe premiere of Dino Fury season 2. Maybe if you're open to it.
I'd be totally happy with that. Yeah.
Awesome.